First, I will start by introducing myself. I'm Aira, and over the last 2 years, my mission has been finding students who would like to pursue a career in the space domain. So as a space career outreach consultant, I've been jointly with the Estonian Space Office spreading the word about these great opportunities in the European Space Agency. And I've myself been a trainee in ESA for 1 year as part of my PhD studies, and currently I work as a project manager in the space domain. So this event is organized with cooperation with the Estonian Space Office. And I would now like to give floor to Mr. Madis Võõras, head of the Estonian Space Office, for welcoming words.
Thank you, Aira. There is a saying that one picture is better than 1,000 words, and I will show you 4 slides. So I hope you can see. This picture is taken in June 2018 in Estec, and on that picture are people who worked at this moment in Estec, and my point is that only 2 of them, those 2 tall guys, have been sent to Estec by Estonian Space Office. So all other managed their places in Estec by themselves. So on the next picture, there is in back our secondee still, but all other, you see new faces here. They are trainees, they are contractors, and even staff in Space Agency. And my message is very short. If you have enough initiative and passion and competence to apply for a job in the Space Agency, which is the great, and I can say the greatest place to work, you can do that. So everything is in your hands. We can provide you with information and some advice, but as I said, everything depends from you. And I finish my short introduction with some information note, which is not yet official, but will come during the next year, and you can even apply for an astronaut. There will be new call for astronauts in ESA next year. When it will be happen, we don't know, but it will happen soon. And if you'd like to know what qualities are the prerequisite for an astronaut, then you can read this book from Tim Peake and be selected. Of course, I'm sorry that all the slides titles were in Estonian, but I hope that if this event is dedicated to Estonian trainees and workers from Estonia, you have anyhow to learn about our language as well. So that's my introduction. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Not in the moon, but in ESA.
Thank you very much for the encouraging words. And I indeed hope there will be some astronaut candidates soon from Estonia. Before we start with the next parts, I also wanted to quickly introduce Karoli Kaan from Estonian Space Office as well, who will help to moderate the chat. So if you have any issues, then you can write to the chat and we can try to help to solve it. And I'll just quickly got a couple of slides. So I will quickly go through the agenda of today's event. We have also invited guest speakers. So we have Florence Lustalo from ESA. She's a talent acquisition specialist who will give you an overview about different traineeship opportunities in ESA. And also Jan de May from ESA IT department, who will talk about IT-related traineeship opportunities and projects in ESA. We will continue with a presentation from Gertrud Talvik, who was an Estonian trainee some years ago and now works in ESA. She can give you an overview about life at ESA as a YGT and afterwards. And to give you a better understanding about the variety of traineeships you can carry out in ESA, we have invited 4 of our trainees to share their experiences and give tips about applying for the positions. And the event will be concluded with a Q&A session where everyone will have an opportunity to ask questions from ESA or the trainees. So you can either use your microphone and camera to ask questions, or you can write in a chat box if you prefer so, all through the event. Now, quickly, I wanted to also mention that although we today concentrate on the European Space Agency traineeships, then there are also other space-related opportunities in the GSA, European Global Navigation Satellite Systems Agency, where there are also short unpaid traineeships, maximum 3 months, and longer paid traineeships. And there are a variety of fields from GNSS services, infrastructure, satellite navigation, positioning, but also finance, legal, marketing, communications, etc. So if you are interested in those as well, you can have a look at their website, gsa.europe.eu. And if you have any additional information, you can always contact me on my email. But now I would like to give floor to ESA's talent acquisition specialist, Florence, who will gladly give you an overview about traineeship opportunities in ESA.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you very much. And I am happy to be in Estonia with you today. And I will indeed present you the various entry-level and research programs we have. But before I do that, and I hope you can see well my first slide, 2 words about who am I, because it's also interesting for you thinking of your career. So I'm French and I work at ESA now for the last, I've been working for the last 27 years at ESA in HR in various roles, but now I am talent acquisition specialist and also looking after diversity and in particular these entry-level research programs. My way to this position in the Netherlands, in ESTEC, our bigger establishment, let's say, and more technical, has gone through various countries, various organizations, various roles, but I had always one thing guiding me towards this path. It was pleasure and interest. And before we heard the word daring, I think one key message I would like to give you all before we start this presentation is dare your wishes. Don't be frightened. Go ahead. Go beyond what you think you can do, because the worst you can do is just to make a little mistake. So it's not so dramatic. So that's my first message, and I hope it will give you also the wings to fly towards, I would say, maybe for some of you, a student internship or young graduate trainee program or others. So now I will go through the presentation. Probably it will answer a lot of your questions, but otherwise we will have the question and answers at the end of at the later stage. So here we go. So the first of all, we have this one program, the student placement, which is made and designed for those of you who are not yet graduated, and who are in particular in the second but last or last year before master, or even maybe in your third year, it's not a problem. This student placement lasts for 3 to 6 months. This year in particular, because of the situation, they are made remotely. So if you live in Estonia, you will do your stage from home and your tutor will guide you virtually, let's say, okay? At the moment, we have something like 60 opportunities posted on our website called interns, okay? And within the topic, the opportunities, often you have various topics. You have to choose. It's very important also for the rest of my the programs to choose the opportunity in line with what you like best, what you are interested in, and of course what you study. So this is the first advice. So you can apply if you are in this, let's say, phase of your studies, and if you are interested, have a look. All these opportunities are posted until 10th of December. Now, who can apply? You have to be, of course, national of an ESA member state or cooperating state or an associate member state. But for you, you can all apply if you are of Estonian nationality. So this is the first program. Then we go to, if it wants to move. Pardon, don't know why. Ah, voilà. To the Young Graduate Trainee program. So the Young Graduate Trainee program is for those of you who are about to graduate or have recently graduated. The first question people ask me is always, do I need to have professional experience? No, indeed, for the YGT program, we are looking after people who don't have professional experience. We want people who are just out from university. Maybe you may have done already a few internships, but that's okay. Or maybe you have worked as a student because you wanted to have a little bit of pocket money, I don't know. But you don't need to have been an engineer or a scientist or an administrator already in another institution or company. No. So, as I said, about or recently graduated, we will offer you preparation on the job experience with expert tutors. It can be all across ESA in one of our establishments, be it ESTEC in the Netherlands, ESRIN in Italy, ESOC in Germany, EAC in Germany, EXAT in England, ESEC in Belgium, HQ in France. So you can have many opportunities. This is for 1 year and can be renewable, okay? And we will see later in all areas where we are looking for young graduate trainees. It's very varied, and then you will hear also the experience of some YGTs, and also Jan will speak about YGT in IT. So again, for the YGT, applications are receivable from nationals from ESA member states, cooperating states, associated states. So all the nationals, meaning the passport is valid for the country, from the country, can apply to our program. Now, what is very important, and this you have to write it down, not to forget, this year we will, our campaign will start for you in February 21. In February 21, we will publish on our website something like 110 opportunities. Again, across areas, across ESA establishments. They will be open for 1 month, so you have the time to look well, see which one is of interest to you. And here I will give another advice, don't apply to 10, 5, 10, 20, 30, because it doesn't help. We cannot understand what you like if you apply to so many. So choose. If you choose one, and maybe if you want, in your motivation letter, you tell us if you have another interest for something else, but don't apply to many of them. It's not worth and it doesn't help. So this is the young graduate trainee. Then we have the national trainee program, which are where the recently graduate people also are, let's say, have a similar profile to the YGT, but it's only for a few ESA member states. One of them is Estonia, and it's let's say there we have an agreement with the country, but we are not employing. ESA is not employing the trainee, it's the member state. So there again, I don't repeat because it's the same principle as the YGT, except that the trainee is employed by his or her own country. Then we have the research fellowship program, which is, let's say, dedicated to the students who are about to get their PhD, so it's postdoctoral, or have received the PhD recently or in the recent years. There it's more about research activities, okay? Science, in science, space application and technology. We have quite a few posts also of research fellows, something like 60 a year, 70. For the research fellow, there is no specific campaign. So it's very important that you, if you are interested, you set up an alert. You go to our website, you set up an alert, and so like that you will receive the information each time a research fellow position is out. By the way, you can also set up an alert for any kind of job. If you have graduated already and you have 2-3 years experience and you want to apply to another staff position, junior position, you set an alert and you write the keywords and then you will be informed, so you don't miss any opportunity. So for the, come back to the research fellowship program, again, it's across ESA, across establishment, across directorates. It's a 2-year contract with the possibility of renewal for a 3rd year. And again, we receive applications from nationals of ESA member states, associated member states, and cooperating states. Now, let's go to the co-funded research. So this is a bit different because if you decide to apply to this program, you will still be working with your university. You may be preparing for, how do you say, for PhD, or already have your PhD, but there ESA will finance up to 50% and up to 90K your research, okay? And ESA will have the agreement with your university, okay? So there it's a bit different. You don't receive a salary from us and you don't come on site. You work from your university. It's a quite interesting program. It's new. And if you are interested, I would highly recommend you to go on these ideas at .esa.int because you will find all the explanations. And it's really meant for people who are innovative, I would say, and who like to be inventive and present new ideas. What kind of profiles in terms of technical disciplines are we looking for? So it's very broad. And also there, I would tell you again, there, and don't stick to a little box, because you may say, I'm engineering, I'm a civil engineer. I don't see civil engineering. Yes. You can still apply if you have in an opportunity that you are enjoying or you feel is in line with your interest, because all kind of engineering disciplines is important and can be relevant. Of course, you don't apply to, I don't know, to an engineering position if you have a background in HR like me, because you will not have all the knowledge. That's obvious. But for those of you who are studying engineer, space engineering, aerospace engineering, who are more generalist, or who have a diploma in mechanical engineering, software engineering, system, you have started some, let's say, experience, electrical, IT. I want to mention IT, and you will hear more about IT later on, because it's a key discipline for now and for the future. So it's very important to keep that in mind. Then we also have young graduates and fellows, of course, in scientific disciplines, applied mathematics, geophysics, meteorology, all environmental science as a whole, planetary and space science, life and material sciences. So if you are studying in any of these disciplines, you have a profile which in principle match with ESA. Then you have to look if there are opportunities in these domains, but your profiles are of interest to us. And of course, we also have positions in business and administration, because even if the core business of ESA is more technical, you need people with a legal background, finance, HR, communication, civil engineering, IT, to help also the others to do their job, to support them. So all these people work together, and this brings me now to a more generic slide, telling you that who are we and what are we looking for. So your new ideas, you are just out of university, you will work, as I said before, with experts who have the experience, but maybe you come with new ideas, and it's all a give and take. It's all about exchanging. And we are also looking for multiculturalism, cooperation, people who have who are curious, who have an open mind, who are open to diversity, and I will come back to that just after. And I also again want to say the word passion, interest, desire and appetite for learning, curiosity. All this is important, and I can nearly assure you that I don't think anyone would contradict me if I say that your motivation and enthusiasm is the key to your, I would say, successful way forward. Okay? I also see on my slide team spirit, diversity in the pool of talent. This is what we are looking for, and this brings me to my last slide. In ESA, as you know, we have a lot of nationalities working together. Altogether 29, if I count the ECS, the European Cooperating States and Associate Member States. We are also encouraging our, let's say, female engineers and scientists to apply. This is very important. We want to have a gender balance in nationality representation, and all of you, the young community in ESA, is really working together, exchanging with the older people, with the experts, and also having, I must say, a very nice life also outside the establishments, because the social part is also very important to discover who are your European colleagues and friends and how you work together. This multiculturalism and awareness is very important. A good team is a diverse team, diverse in many respects: experience, background, generation, culture, nationality, everything you want to put together, which is diverse, brings success. So I hope that with these words, I have been, let's say, I've given you some good information, and you will be able to, you will have the floor to ask me further questions. For now, I would like to tell you to note this career at ESA, www.esa.int, to visit our website, and also these opportunities for YGTs as from February 21, and the students one, which are posted right now. And I thank you very much at this point, and we'll speak probably later.
Thank you very much for this great overview. And yes, if anyone has any questions, then we'll answer those in the Q&A session. And now I would like to give the floor to Jan.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can see my slide on the screen. First of all, I would also like to thank all of you for giving me this opportunity to present something about the opportunities we have in the IT department. And basically, this is for two reasons. The first reason is that if you are an IT specialist, or if you have been studying IT, typically the European Space Agency or the space domain is not the most, let's say, the first place where people go to look for professional opportunities. And I want to demonstrate that also, as in most domains, but also especially in the space domain, also in the European Space Agency, IT is playing a quite important role and is really contributing to the success of ESA and the missions we do. Secondly, I'm also happy, just like Florence said, to be virtually in Estonia today. I have never been in Estonia before, and I think it's also Estonia is known to be the digital nation, so that also makes me very happy to be here today. So I will also start by very briefly introducing myself. So Jan de Meij, I'm from Belgium originally. And I worked in IT for a couple of years, almost 15 years before I was joining ESA. And it was actually by coincidence that I heard about ESA, friends telling me about ESA, and I was very interested, and I found job opportunities on the ESA website. And this is how I joined ESA about 5 years ago. It's been a very, very interesting journey for myself personally. Very challenging also at times, but very extremely interesting. I actually started my first role in ESA in Italy, in our establishment there called Estrin. Then I had the possibility to move after about 1 year to another establishment in the Netherlands, to Estec, which is our largest establishment. And then about 2 years ago, I got a new role in ESA. And as part of that, I moved yet again to another establishment in Germany, to ESOC. So that is just one example of how interesting ESA is as an organization. And also I personally experienced that the different establishments in ESA, they're all quite different. They have their own, I would almost say, different culture, which is very nice to experience. So that was just a very short introduction about myself. If I go now more focusing on IT, first of all, generally IT in the European Space Agency, I would say IT is everywhere. So I myself, I work for ESA's IT department. ESA's IT department is offering, let's say, common IT services and tools for the whole of the agency. But there are also a lot of IT activities taking place in the often very specialized fields of expertise, which we have in all the various directorates in the agency. So also if you're specialized in IT, let's say, and you are looking for IT opportunities, you will find in the opportunities available today, but also YGT opportunities who will be published in February next year and so on. You will find different IT opportunities, not only in ESA's IT department, but also in the various other directorates, sometimes very specialized. You have examples are onboard software engineering, where people develop software which will then be running on our spacecrafts and which will be running in space, let's say. You have ground systems, you have then data systems where the data is distributed to all the users. And so there's plenty of opportunities. As I said, I'm part of ESA's IT department, and I'm responsible there for the security and the infrastructure services in the IT department. I have colleagues who are responsible for end user services, and I have also colleagues responsible for application services. So what I'm going to do for the remainder of the presentation is I will zoom into some very specific cases, not current opportunities or not specific opportunities, but examples of where both internships and YGTs have been contributing in the IT department over the past couple of years, and where I have personally also been very strongly involved. So within my part of the IT department, let's say, in my division, we are offering a number of services, infrastructure and security, which ranges from data centers, which are really the buildings where servers are running, very technical, all these things. We have the network services. So of course, network is very important. Nowadays, during the COVID-19 situation, most people from ESA are working remotely from home. That means that, for instance, at this moment we have around 4,400 people who are connected from remote to the ESA infrastructure, to the ESA intranet and all the ESA tools and systems. Then we have computing infrastructure services. This is typically storage computing and cloud. These are all our servers. We have specific services aimed at development teams. We have security services, and then also we have the ESA CERT, which is under my responsibilities, which is our internal computer emergency response team, taking care about potential security issues which users experience or our systems experience in the agency. So I will be focusing a little bit on the areas I have highlighted, so the computing infrastructure, the platform services, and then also give an example of a current project we have ongoing in the ESA CERT area. So I apologize for the people who are maybe not so IT technical. I will try to explain it because I've included some technical components in this presentation for the people who are very interested in IT. I apologize for the people who don't fully understand it. The idea is not to fully understand it, it's just to give some ideas of the things we are doing. So within ESA, we have our own cloud infrastructure, which we have deployed on-premise in our data centers in Italy and Germany mainly. This is not huge, but a fairly large computing infrastructure, which is used actually by people who want to run their own systems, their own services, and they can actually come to us and we will host it for them. We have around 3,600 virtual machines, for instance, deployed at this moment on this infrastructure. So this is there, and this is a very, let's say, a very stable service, which is used by many people, but we are continuously evolving, and we see cloud is everywhere, and system users and developers, they need to have easy access to those systems, and we are helping them with this. And these are typical activities, let's say, which in many cases they originate, or in some cases they have really originated from YGTs which were working for the IT department, who actually have very nice, sometimes very innovative, challenging ideas about how we could make the life of, for instance, software developers in ESA easier by automating a lot of their tasks. We have at the moment, actually since 1st of September, we have currently a young graduate trainee who just started in September and who has actually already developed and integrated and actually made a first new service available for developers. It's an object storage solution. Again, quite technical, but I just list on the slide a number of the different services we offer. Basically, what you see on the slide, it says automation for ESA. This is a portal which is available. Anybody in ESA actually can go there. And this is again not aimed at the typical end user in ESA, but at all the IT skilled users we have, which are spread everywhere. They can simply go there. They can say, I would like to have a server. They click, they fill in a number of details, and then a couple of minutes, actually 1 or 2 minutes later, they will receive an email. They say, okay, your server is fully ready. This is how you can access it, and they can fully do their job, and they can start using it. So this is always continuously evolving. I have another more detailed slide, but I will skip it. But it just shows a little bit what I was expressing before. They just say, okay, I would like to have this. What is happening is that you see on the site, this is all translated into computer code, which then can be executed on the infrastructure and will automate whatever they request, and then send the email to say that their request has been processed and everything is ready for them to use. Again, this is another screenshot, just to give an impression. I will not go through the details, but it just shows that this is all fully automated. And actually, for the people, I requested a virtual machine, a Linux-based virtual machine, and this is automatically, a pipeline is started, and at the end I get my login screen and I can start using it after 2 minutes. So I think I'll also skip the next slide because it goes very technical, and it is actually what I was explaining before. And this was just an example, but what do we really use those things for again? We get a lot of requests from people who are developing their own systems. For instance, software going into space. They are developing the systems who will distribute the data. For instance, Earth observation data, which then is used by all kinds of users all over the world to learn more about our planet. And to do those things, they need to do software development. So we give them opportunities to do coding from a browser. Coding from a browser is a little bit similar to what people have with online tools such as Google Docs, which most people might know. Google Docs means that rather than having, for instance, Word on your computer and working on a local file, you actually work online, and you can work with different people at the same time in the same document. You can edit it online together. You see the changes other people are making real time. We are offering the same functionality for software developers. And a second example is data science from a browser. They are data scientists who are processing data. We again give them all the tools available. They don't need to even install anything locally on their laptop or whatsoever. Now they just click on a link. The environment is prepared for them automatically, and they can start using it. So it's just all examples of proof of concepts which are very often driven by or implemented by young graduate trainees, who then, if they are successful and they are useful for the users in ESA, they turn out into a real service, which is then maintained for years to come, and which is really actively being used actually to support our missions, the core business of ESA. So I promised I would also explain something about security and our ESA CERT team. So this is a current internship. So at the moment we have a master's student who's in his last year, who's preparing also his master's thesis based on the work he's doing with inside our ESA CERT team. So what is very important for a CERT team, which is on the forefront of reacting, preventing and defeating security threats, which are very common and often sophisticated, that they get a lot of information and a lot of external intelligence feeds, which can actually help them to detect that something might be wrong or something might go wrong in the future. This is called, this specific project, we call it OSINT, it's open source intelligence for the ESA CERT team. And so we have currently a student working on that. And what has he done concretely so far? He has been looking at what is available on the internet, what are all the intelligence sources available on the internet. He has selected some relevant ones, and then he is now implementing and configuring a framework which can get all this information from various sources. These are very huge volumes of data. They are unstructured data, and actually they're not very useful, because you're really, if you want to get something useful, you have to search for a needle in a haystack. So what is happening is they are combining all these different sources of unstructured data. We create some rules to define what we are really looking for, and then actually the system can automatically process this data based on the rules, for instance, detect potential leaking of ESA information somewhere on the internet. This then results, of course, in alerts which are manually processed by the team. So this is a very concrete example of what an intern is doing at the moment in the ESA CERT team. So I think this is what I wanted to present. Was a lot of information, a bit technical, but I hope it's useful for some of the people participating to see that we are really doing. I personally find them very challenging and sometimes I would say cool things we do in ESA's IT department. So thank you for your attention, and of course I will be available for questions after the session.
Thank you, Jan, very much for your presentation. And we hope as a result, the Estonians will be active in applying in the opportunities in IT. And I would like to introduce now Gertrud, our previous Young Graduate Trainee and now employee of ESA. The floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. Tere. I hope everyone can see my presentation. I hope so. Yes, I get a yes. So indeed, my name is Gertrud Talvik. I am Estonian. I lived in Estonia until I was 18, and since then I've done quite a few loops around the world in different places and ended up at ESA. And now I have the almost impossible task of describing life at ESA during a time where life nowhere is standard. But I do hope that what I describe here today, that at one point in the future, it will get back to this life that I know and have experienced as a YGT and now as an employee, because it's really nice. So just to give you an idea where I started. This picture is exactly 4 years ago. I was working in a lab. I was investigating the eukaryotic transcription mechanisms of Plasmodium falciparum, which basically means that out of the 18.7 million species on Earth, I was investigating the genes of one parasitic microscopic species, and out of all of its genes, I was looking at one protein encoded by one of its genes, and I was looking at one specific region of that protein and how that binds to a very specific part on a DNA. So it's in terms of scale, it's furthest away from a cosmic scale that you can think of. I was in really microscopic levels working on something very, very specific. But nevertheless, now I've ended up in a position where for a few years I've looked after certain space technology development programs in new member states, and have gotten the opportunity to get to know the space industry really, really well. And I want to tell you how that happened and how and why life is not going on linear paths as we might sometimes think. So this is normally how we envisage how things happen. This is actually part of ESA's plan and exploration for the next couple of years. So it's very actual. These are all the missions that we're planning to go through. But here you can see that the trajectories still are sort of linear, going away from Earth and getting somewhere to another planet in a relatively linear fashion. But to give a better illustration, then this is how it actually looks like. In fact, this is the near rectilinear halo orbit, the intended orbit for the gateway, and it's nowhere near linear or even circular. It has many different variations in terms of optimal energy expenditure, and that's normally what happens in life. In order to move from one orbit to another, you need to exert energy and thrust, and then you need to do a trade between time and efficiency. And I brought this example because it's a particularly good one, because to get from the southern part of the halo orbit to the northern part, you actually have to loop back towards the Earth and even further and loop back around to essentially get back to where you started. And this is a little bit how my life has gone and how I've ended up at ESA. So I didn't get to become a YGT with my first attempt. As I mentioned, I was working in a lab. I was doing biochemistry and biotechnology, and I always had an interest in space industry, and I always had an interest in European Space Agency. So I scoured the YGT positions and I applied 1 year and I heard nothing. So back in the day, which was 5 years ago, ESA wouldn't let you know when you didn't make it to the next round. I'm very glad they actually do let you know now, because I still spent 5 months praying and hoping that something happened, but in fact it didn't. So when the next year came around, I was demoralized, to say the least. And I waited until the last day of the applications, and I went through the 100 applications that Florence was mentioning, and I read every single one of these. And unfortunately that year, there was nothing much in my area, in biochemistry type projects. So I found something that I found interesting, and I believed that if I push myself and study a little bit, I get to convince the people on the other side that I really want to do this. So the point here is that whatever you've done up to this point in your life, your degrees and decisions, this is set. Your CV is essentially set at the point of your application. What you still have control over is your motivation and, of course, the interview. And that essentially was my plan. To get a chance at the interview, to be able to convince the people on the other side that I am able and willing to learn as much as I can to be able to be accepted. And I got what I wanted, in the sense that I got the YGT position, and my first day was on a Friday, and I met up with my manager. And my manager gave me this textbook, Space Mission Engineering textbook. And it's, for those of you who don't know, it's a 1,000-page space mission analysis and design textbook. And he put it on the table and said, "You have 1 weekend." So, and I really did have 1 weekend. And I really spent the weekend reading that textbook. And I came in on Monday and he quizzed me on that. So on the one hand, I managed to get through that filter. In my year, there were over 4,000 applications to YGT positions. On another hand, you then have to work. It's I got what I wanted, but then, you know, being in it, it was really a hectic 3 months for me. So if it hadn't been quite as hectic, I would have done all that. There's a reason why I'm not on this picture. This is a YGT lunch. I was studying at the time. This is when I first started. The YGT life itself at ESA is really great. On one side, you don't have as many responsibilities. On the other side, you have a lot of opportunities. So the YGTs organize themselves in regular lunches. They have regular talks to talk about what each of us does. Instantly, there are WhatsApp groups formed. My favorite part of the WhatsApp group is that if there's an astronaut loose at ESTEC, then there's something called an astronaut alert. And then as the alert posts on the WhatsApp group, you get about 150 YGTs trying to chase down the astronaut. Poor people, but it's fun and it's exciting. There used to be opportunity to go to launches with Young ESA. I hope everything here kind of recuperates from the virus and we can actually proceed with all these activities. Also, one part that I really enjoyed was the access to trainings. If you are lucky enough to get a really nice manager, then they allow you to go to the trainings. And these are really the engineering trainings for all different subsystems of satellites. And I was lucky enough that my manager really pushed me to study as much as I can in this time. And of course, you get a view on the future opportunities. So you get to see the vacancy notices and opportunities that come about in the agency, and you get to apply for them if you see yourself fit. Which is also essentially what happened to me. After YGT, I got an extension for another year, and halfway through my extension, there was an opportunity that came up and I applied for it. And at that point, if I thought that the YGT interview was hard, I couldn't have imagined what the employee interview was like, because for that one, I really studied the same textbook over and over again. And during the interview, I would get questions like, describe the AOCS subsystem, or what happens in a failure detection and isolation mode to a spacecraft, or what are the parameters of this orbit versus that orbit. And my position itself was in industrial policy, so it was a really challenging interview, and probably the most nervous I've ever been. But I was lucky enough to get through and now still work at the agency. As Madis mentioned, there also are alternative career paths if you don't have any luck in becoming an astronaut. I do hope that some of you apply next year as well when the call comes out. But overall, I think living at the establishment of ESTEC and working at ESA is really like a whole new world at your fingertips. It's really the opportunities around you that it enables you to study and learn and have access to an amazing database of knowledge about space. And I think it's really valuable, and that's what I really enjoy about the place. Also, it's a blessing and a curse in the sense that I do not have time today to stay for the Q&A and afterwards because I have to work, but I'm leaving you with my email address, and you're really welcome to exploit it at any time. And I'll get back to you and we can talk about applying for YGT or any other questions you might have at any later stage. So thank you, and I hope a lot of you will apply.
Thank you, Gertrud, and thanks for bringing back all the good memories from time at ESA. Yes, we'll let you go then to your important work and continue with the other trainees who can share their side and their experiences. So maybe we can gather them all together here with videos and all the YGTs. We should have 4. Nee, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very good. Hello, everyone. So I will maybe start first round, just ask quickly what everyone's doing, and then we can carry on with some more general questions. So maybe I'll start with Maria-Liis, because you're the freshest YGT at the moment, I think. And could you tell us a little bit, what has been a journey like from you, from coming from Tartu and doing bachelor's degree in physics, going to ESA and working with a Gaia mission, and what challenges you're currently solving?
Okay, hi everyone. Can you hear me first of all?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, thanks. Yes, so I can greet you everyone from ESTEC right now. It was fun listening to Gertrude while being here, while the conditions that we now have are very different from the ones she explained. So when I was studying in Tartu, I definitely already dreamed about working at a space agency one day. But I don't think that I heard about the YGT positions back then. I barely had any idea of the career opportunities. I just had it in the back of my mind. And then when I went into my master's studies, I was just sure that I would go and do a PhD after that. And then once when I started to apply for PhD positions, this YGT opportunity popped up, like pretty much out of nowhere. And the moment I saw this position, I thought to myself, like, okay, even if I will be accepted for a PhD position, I think I would rather go for the ESA opportunity, just because it was like, I don't know, this long dream that I had. I would say that if you ask me about challenges, the biggest part or the biggest part of the challenges were definitely during my studies, because the astrophysics programs in general are very demanding. And I do remember that the last semester of my master's was very tough on me with handling the courses, the career applications for later, and the thesis work altogether. So it did require a lot of time management, for sure.
Great, thanks. We'll move on to Karoliina. And Karoliina, you have been one of the few Estonians who've been in ESAC, the European Space Astronomy Center near Madrid in Spain. So what kind of tasks did you do in your traineeship there at the ESA Space Center for Space Science? What did it involve?
Hi, hello, yeah. I was at ESAC, and actually I was at ESAC as a trainee, but also as a YGT. So in the year 2016, when I was still in the university doing my master's degree, then for the 3 months I went there to do a traineeship. And then later, after I finished my studies, I also applied to the YGT position. And the fun fact is that I was also working in the same division and in the same team even. And what I was doing there was that I was a software engineer. So I have also studied software engineering in Tallinn University of Technology. So there, and I was not in the IT department, which is a little bit different, but I was actually in the engineering department, and we were working with a lot of data. So in ESAC, we have a lot of different archives, like the archive systems that the scientists are using, but they are also available for the public. So I was in charge of developing one of those archives, and the one that I was developing was, let's say, I think it was the biggest archive because it contained the different data, the data from the different missions that were not connected to Earth. So, for example, it had data from Rosetta, Pepi Colombo, Mars Express, and so on. And yeah, I was actually, I mean, it was exactly what I had been studying. So I was a programmer, and that was what I was doing also there. So in university, I learned a lot of Java. And when I went to ESA, then I was also working with Java mostly, but also some other programming languages. But yeah, briefly, I would say that's it.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to Stella Reino. Stella, first time I saw you was actually in a video. It was a YGT promotional video for me by ISA, and you were talking about a very exciting field, astrophysics. So can you tell us a bit more what took you to this field and why did you decide to apply for YGT?
Yeah, hi everyone. I hope you can hear me well. So I think what Gertrud was saying earlier about lives not always having very direct paths is kind of what happened to me. So I originally went to do economics in Tartu University. I did about a year and a half of that until I decided that that's not for me. And I applied to University College London, and I started completely from zero in natural sciences, so astrophysics and physical chemistry. Now, when I finished my master's there, I had already, before I finished my master's, I had applied to another program in ESA, so it's the internship program in ESAC, and I got for an interview, and I was really excited, but I sadly didn't get the position. So I already, while I was applying, I noticed that there's a YGT thing happening, and I can't apply for that yet because I don't have my master's, but in a year I can. So I was actually like looking out for it, but simultaneously I was also applying for PhDs. And when I found out I got the position, I was so happy that, like Maria was saying earlier, I just left my PhD ideas for a bit, and I went to work in ESA, especially because the program that I got accepted for was related to astrophysics, and I could do, actually, I was so happy to be able to do something in my field that I studied in, but not do it in a PhD, but actually in like a big organization like ESA. So I was over the moon for that. And yeah, after I was done with ESA, I still did go on and apply for a PhD position, which I'm doing now.
Good plan. Thank you. And the fourth panelist is Mailis, and I'm very glad that you're in this panel representing slightly different area, maybe not so science-based. It's a communication. So how did you find out about ESA that you can actually work there on this different field like communication?
Hi, and my STEM background is only in terms of my high school education. I did go to a slightly, as an Estonian I would say, reaalkallakuga gymnasium, a STEM-focused high school. However, by the time of university, I recognized my field was in humanitarian sciences at the time. So I did my undergraduate degree in parallel in English language and literature and in journalism and communications. After that, I worked 2 years in Estonia in the public sector as a communications specialist. And proceeded then to do my master's in Copenhagen Business School, because I recognized at the time I was interested in an international career. And it happened that I was in South Korea doing my exchange semester when I read an email in my university, Tartu University alumni mailing list, introducing certain opportunities in ESA and highlighting that there were also not only science-based, but also, for example, in communications area. I checked these opportunities and I became inspired instantly. It also happened that I was looking for opportunities in Italy to work at the time, and one of these opportunities happened to be in Italy. And this is how the story unfolded, let's say.
Thank you. Maybe I'll continue with you as well. I had this question that now you are a contractor in the same site in ESA. How do you find these two experiences, YGT versus a contractor? How much does it differ actually, the responsibilities and the general job?
I think that also YGT positions can differ greatly. I am not so intimately familiar with, let's say, very scientific YGT positions, but as my area was in the communications department, which can be considered more administrative or support, it tends to be positions that are actually needed on a day-to-day basis in general in an organizational context, and not necessarily only in the framework of some particular scientific project, for example. So it was quite natural that already since I started as a YGT, I had a responsibility that affected the organization, and at least within the communications department significantly, and not only just as a trainee project in its general sense. I'm not using the word YGT here. And so it was quite natural progression that the tasks I did, somebody needed to do them also after the 1 year of my YGT, and then the extension year of my YGT had finished. And of course, I managed to become pregnant after my YGT or at the end of that. So I did take a maternity break, but I stayed in touch with my team, and after a while, I was invited to return, and now I'm working in the same team, but also now jointly in another team doing similar, but a bit broader scope of tasks.
Good, thanks. Yeah, I think it's a very encouraging story that you can actually proceed with your career in the same institution, and you've been actually needed at all the tasks you've done during a YGT position. Maybe a little bit similar question to Carolina, that how did you find the internship differ from YGT? Was there big differences, or was it just the time that was different?
I have to think about it because my traineeship was like 4 years ago, but I remember that I loved my traineeship so much that it was one of the things that motivated me like a lot to try again for the YGT position. And yeah, and I was applying for the YGT actually in the hopes that the experience would be similar, or that the feeling would be similar, and actually it was, but I think the difference was that for the traineeship, they had like a fixed project for the trainee. So they had already kind of specified what will my, let's say, task be, that I have to investigate this and the outcome has to be that. So, but for the YGT, it was a little bit different. I was, when I was a YGT, I was like a part of the development team. So whatever tasks we had, I was also like doing the same tasks. So we always made everything like into smaller pieces, and whatever there was to do, I did it. And if I had like some missing experience or I didn't know something, then I could always ask someone, like for example, my teammate, or someone would, let's say, give me an overview of something. But every day I was learning and I was getting better. But I would say that when I was a YGT, it was like any other, let's say, engineering position, in the sense that you join a team and you start kind of like learning piece by piece. I didn't have like different, let's say, tasks than anyone else from the team. So I was like a part of the team, except I was a YGT, and I was treated like in the same way. So I was not like separated. But as a trainee, I was a little bit more separate. So I was like working on a very specific thing, and they didn't communicate with the team like that much. But I would say, but it was really similar. I mean, and in my case, of course, it was because it was the same place and even the same division and everything. But I would say that the experience, I think I would say the YGT was even better, because I had more freedom, and I was also taking part of all the, let's say, meetings, so I could say things and offer new ideas, and yeah, I think I had like more rights, let's say, in that sense.
But the application process, did you find it similar, or was that different as well?
It was different, because I think I'm not sure about the other institutions, but at ESAC they had this specific ESAC traineeships. So I had to go, I think I went to the ESAC site and then I found the traineeships from there. And I think it differs in the other institutions, but the YGT positions are in the same system there. And for the ESAC traineeship, I don't remember if I had, what was the conditions. I think I had to select 3 projects. So I was applying for 3 different projects and I managed to get the interview for 2 of them. And in the end, I also applied successfully to 2 of them. And then I had to choose like which one I wanted more. But for the YGT, it was different. And in my case, I only applied to one specific YGT position because I remember that it was suggested to choose the best one, the best option, right? Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can talk a little bit about the life as a YGT as well, that maybe some young people are afraid that when they go abroad and they'll be alone there and somewhere in a strange place, that how did you find the life and the outside of work activities? Yes, maybe who would like to talk? Maybe Maria-Liis can start.
I do remember that when I moved from Belgium to the Netherlands, I did kind of have this concern, like, okay, it was easy to make friends in Belgium because of my master's program, but what is going to happen in the Netherlands? And like, I shouldn't have had this worry at all because the YGT community is really open to everyone who arrives here at the same time. And what usually happens is that all of the people who start at the same time, they just kind of group together and have activities together. So for example, we were all hunting for the houses together in the first month. We had like the lunches, seminars, a lot of social activities together. And like 1 year later, I'm still very close friends with the people that I started together with.
Yes, I have the same comment, yes, that these connections are for life, let's say, and all over Europe, which is extremely useful later in life as well. Anyone else like to elaborate? Stella?
I just mainly have to agree with whatever you guys already said, that it's an amazing community. First of all, you have the people from different nationalities, which is great. And they all do different things. Like I did astrophysics, most people are engineers or education or law, whatever. It's really, really cool to, through these people, also learn more about space because they can make you have a better understanding of the space industry as a whole through this. And I think otherwise it would be harder to find these connections, but because we're all young and we all come to a new country not knowing anybody, it's an ideal environment for having these interactions take place.
Good, yes. Maybe we can talk about a little bit the application process, the experience with the video interview, or as Gertrud was saying that she thought it was tough, but how do you remember it, and how did you prepare for the interviews? Who remembers? Maid-Liis maybe can...
I remember. I did not have a video interview. I had a face-to-face interview, so for me, I found out quite early after applying. I think I applied back in December, almost around this time 4 years ago. And it was the beginning of February when I received an email invite to the interview. And I remember just being thrilled beyond this world. It was amazing, but at the same time also a bit frightening. I had 1 week until my interview to prepare, and I put everything into it. I prepared like crazy. I think I went over times and times over or potential reasons why I could be the one to do this position, and really I prepared until the morning of the interview, really. I did put all my effort into it.
Anyone else has fun experiences? from the video interview? Or I understood that it's in stages, you get from one stage to another. So are there any difference between those stages to the preparation as well?
I think sorry. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I had the video interview and then the face-to-face one. I think that the video interview is just it's something completely different. I don't know. It was very stressful to prepare for it, because obviously you don't know the questions, and the answers you have to give them in a certain amount of time. Like basically there's a question on the screen and you have 30 seconds to think of something to reply, and then you have a minute to reply. And it's pretty stressful, but I think you get used to it after a while. And after all, it's a very efficient way to interview a lot of people, I think. So you shouldn't be put off with that. It's just something you have to do. And I think the people who look at the recorded videos after, they will just understand that this is how it is for most people. It is a bit awkward, but nothing too bad. And obviously the face-to-face interview is very nice because well, people in ESA are generally nice and welcoming. So that was a much nicer experience. Although I was also very nervous. I also, it was kind of like before an exam when you just try to remember a lot of things in your head. And for everybody, I think that my #1 tip to do before, when you apply, even before you hear if you've gotten an interview or not, sign up for ESA newsletter that is in your field. I know there's many that is Earth from Space and like science and stuff, but sign up to these and you will be always up to date. So when you are in an interview, you will probably know the latest things that ESA has done, and it's extremely useful because ESA wants to know that you are enthusiastic about ESA and the missions. So that's my #1 tip. Thanks.
Yeah,
that's a very good tip.
Oh, sorry.
I just wanted to say
I wanted
that's a
to
very
say,
good tip.
Yeah, I wanted to say more or less the same thing, that it was the same for me, that what I remember and what I was like suggested to do before the interview was to kind of like, well, you cannot really, let's say, prepare for your own like specific field. Like in my case, they were asking some engineering related questions. So I kind of knew how I could prepare for them, but more, it's kind of just to see if you know about it. But I was also, suggested to like research about ESA history, and I remember they were even asking me what is my favorite mission and what I think about it and like things like that. So that's what I remember. So yeah, more or less the same thing. That it was a good tip.
Maria just wanted to say something.
I wanted to say that like I studied every single possible thing about like astrophysics that was about the project, and then I kind of didn't think about everything else related to ESA. So in my interview, for example, I was asked to name a few of the Earth observation satellites, and my head went completely empty. Like I do know some of the Earth observation programs because they are in those newsletters, for example, or web pages. But I was just so hyper focused on my own project that I just couldn't name a single thing. So it's always good to think a bit wider, I guess.
Good tips. Yes, it can be challenging if you haven't done such video interview before under this pressure. So practicing is the best you can do. Good, and maybe we sum it up with a general question like, what this experience give you for your future career, or how does it differ from working elsewhere? Maybe PhD is a bit different, hard to compare, but maybe Carolina can. It's interesting that you're in industry now and not quite space-related industry. How do you find it? Was it useful still, or?
I would say it was, because in ESA everything is, let's say, it is slower because the institution is a lot bigger and everything is bigger. Everything takes more time. And engineering-wise, it's also different. But there were some really specific things that now in industry I can actually compare. That in ESA we did like this, in the team at ESA it was like that. But now, for example, it's like this. So I can always compare, like if some kind of systems or things that we are doing are different, or maybe something was better, something was worse, maybe something is better now or worse now. So I can always compare. Because yeah, I would say that the processes were fairly different. But from another point of view, I made a lot of really good friends, and we're still talking with each other. And now we're in different places. For example, people are doing different things, so it's always interesting to know what they're up to. And for example, if I had a wish to go to another country, for example, inside Europe, I probably would have some friend there that I have been a YGT or a trainee with at TISAC. So it's quite nice. But to compare ESA and the industry, I think it has given me a lot of like experience that I don't even maybe notice. I don't even know, but every day I think I'm always comparing those things, and it gave me like a different view of things. So in some sense, I think it's like super useful, and I might not even notice it myself. But I think the people around me, and for example, my current team leader, he actually sees it, and he sees that I see things from a different point of view than the others, maybe. So yeah.
Good. Okay. I'm finished with my questions here, so maybe we can move on to the Q&A session. And we received some questions in writing, and some have been in the chat box. So in the writing, they were mostly for maybe Florence to reply. There's some questions about general what sort of possibilities there are in, for example, food technology, or when you studied psychology in space exploration in that side, or for bioastronomers. So I guess, Florence, you want to comment on this?
Yes, and but if I may, I would like to also come back to what all the ladies here have said, ex-YGTs, ex-interns, because I don't know if you see my face, but I'm thrilled to hear what I've heard. Really, I'm so happy because you have all said what I say maybe in a more formal way in the presentation, but you all speak about the same thing. And I think that's the best message to all the audience we have today, because it must, I hope it is inspiring. On the one side, we have all spoken about the different ways to arrive where you have been. You all have studied abroad, you have done various kinds of studies, you have dared to apply, you have pushed yourself beyond what you thought you could do, okay? You are talking about interview, and I would like to know, you know, Eire, that I wanted to give a few tips for the interview preparation, so I will also take this opportunity here. They have all said, we have prepared a lot, and I also, in all the jobs interviews I've taken, I've prepared a lot. And even when you are much ahead in your career, you always have to prepare a lot for an interview. I tell you that I've interviewed myself many YGTs. And it's true that we are demanding, because ESA is a place where people have a lot of education, a lot of interest, a lot of motivation, and the competition is tough. So I always said, some of you may have seen me at Take Up Duty Day giving a little speech to the YGTs. I always say the same. Congratulations that you are here, because the competition is tough. But now you have to continue learning as a YGT. And when we speak about preparation for the interview, is also for the application. So Carolina said it, a few of you have said it, you have chosen the opportunity, exactly as I mentioned it. In particular, now we have a system And that's why now we also answer all our candidates, because we have a system which allows us to do it. It's no longer only manual with one person writing to everybody. But when we have more than 6,000 applicants only to the YGT program, you can imagine what it means for the HR colleagues. So yes, you should choose one opportunity, because if we see that you should go somewhere else, or there is an opportunity for you somewhere else, we can also take action and contact you, okay? So yes, choose. Then prepare, make your application clear, be concise, show your interest, tell us what you want to do, even aside this opportunity you have chosen. Don't be afraid to say it, you know? It's your first contact with ESA, and it's the first contact we have with you. You know, so be attent, be accurate, be precise, and not too long, not too short. It's not easy, but also an application has to be prepared. Then, if you are selected, and by the way, we know that you cannot have so much experience. You are at the very, very, very beginning of your career. So, if you are selected, you may go for this Sonru, terrible Sonru video tool, pre-selection interview. Be aware that nowadays we use it more and more and more, even for staff positions. And yes, it's true, it's a bit frightening, but also remember, all the ones who have to go through it are also a little bit frightened by the same video interview tool. And yes, it's not easy to be in front of a camera. You are asked a question and you have, I don't know, 1 minute, 2 minutes to answer. Not easy at all. So you have to prepare also for that. And preparation, what does it mean? It means preparing who am I, what I have done, my motivation, my area of studies, but also broader. Who was saying it? I have prepared, and I was asked, it was Marie, I think, saying I was asked about Earth observation when it's not my field. I love asking in interview questions. Which satellite or which program? What do you know about Earth observation, especially if you're not applying to Earth observation? Because nowadays you also have internet. And if you tell me in an interview, I love space since I was born, and you have no idea of the space programs in ESA, then I have a doubt. So yes, go and consult the ESA website. It's also actually quite a nice website, you know, so if you want to learn about what we do. So prepare for the pre-selection interview. And then nowadays we have this final interview. Often we only invite 2 people and we do it virtually through WebEx, Teams, whatever, Skype for Business, because we don't travel for that, especially in the period now. Okay, so yes, prepare. And also what I wanted to say, networking. We've spoken about networking. They have all said the same thing. I'm still friend. I was amazing, the community. Yes, the exchange, the community between all the YGT interns, research fellows. I think this is enormous. Wherever you are in ESA, it's different. Maëlys in Esrin has a different experience than Carolina or Stella or Maëlys in Estec, because, or what Gertrude was saying also. Because of course, if you arrive in the morning, and you know what we say at Estec, when we saw big tables in the morning, we say, the YGTs have come for breakfast. You know, we know the YGT community, it's beautiful. And it's also beautiful for them. The house hunting moment, when you are all together, you don't know each other and you go to look for your house with the friends, with the future friends, it's also a nice moment. So we take care of you. We know you cannot understand it maybe at the beginning when you are not yet in Estec, because for you a name is a name. You all have a contact point with an assistant, or you see my name, or you see the name of your tutor. But then when you will come in the ESA establishment, ESRI, NESTEC, ESAC, EXAT, everything takes form. I think you understand the connection, that you can go and speak to the people in HR or your tutors. And this brings me to another thing, is ask questions. I think also everybody will confirm what I say. When you are a YGT or an intern, but let's say a YGT, you are, and Carolina, you said that very well before, you said, I was part, as a YGT, I was part of the meetings. So you are there, you can take part, but you have not the end responsibility. This is your tutor having the end responsibility. You are still there to learn. So you have this on-the-job experience. And I think this is extremely important. And that's the difference with the internship that you have made. As an intern, you are still a student. So your, let's say, profile and your contribution and what you are asked, therefore, is a bit different. So as a YGT, as an intern, ask questions around. It's normal. It's good to reflect. And you have to dare asking the questions. Okay? Now, from that, I go to the fact that Carolina, you were intern and then YGT. I want to say to everybody that this is not incompatible. In fact, it's a few YGTs have been an intern before. So, and it's good because like that, you know the environment, okay? Nowadays, just to also clarify, the process in ESAC is the same as everywhere else. We have harmonized a lot in the last years. So these opportunities I was mentioning before, the 60 opportunities at the moment which are published, are for everywhere in ESA, also in ESAC. Okay, and else, I mean, I've heard so many things which I found very, very interesting in what you all said, that I'm really glad. But now, coming back to the question on food, what was it? Food?
Oh, there were all different areas.
Yeah, so what I wanted to say on the one, now can you tell me, because I, you know, I wanted to say something on this, on the food specialist something. No, we don't have specifically a job for that, but it could be that if you work in the area of human space flight, you have an activity to work on experiences linked to that, just as for the psychologist. You may work if you, when the intern opportunities or the YGT opportunities are open, you will have to look for maybe more for that areas of life support and in the field of human space flight in EAC or in ESTEC, where we have colleagues working with the training of the astronauts and etc., etc. So there, I think maybe if we have opportunities that will be in that area.
So I remember last year, some of these opportunities were on a separate page and this astronaut center. So is today they're all in this internship together in this
yes
internships? Yeah?
Yes, but sometimes for the internship you have to also, if you go to specifically the site itself, sometimes they also publish or promote their own opportunities. You know, like ESAC will promote their own opportunities, EXAT, EAC, but to apply, you have to go to the career website of ESA. That's very important. We don't, we only accept these applications which go through our system, HR Space.
Okay. So there was a question, and I've been asked it a lot too, is if you only have a bachelor's degree or doing a bachelor's degree, do you still have any opportunities or do you have to wait until you start your master's?
So as an intern, student intern, you have only one let's say, opportunity to make a stage. Okay, so be it if you do one in your second year, let's say from university or third year, then you will not come back as a student. You may as a YGT, but not as a student. So you have to reflect well. Now, it's true that if you are towards the end of your master, you have maybe more knowledge yourself, so you feel more at ease. But it doesn't mean that if you are in your third year, so at the level of the bachelor, let's say, third, it doesn't mean that you cannot apply. So again, I always say the same thing, don't block yourself, you know, because again, because there are a lot of applicants, it's not because you are refused once that you will be refused the second time. We also heard that from our panel today.
Yes, I can relate to that. I've also applied once and wasn't successful.
Yes, so you have to be persistent. Also, often we have that people who are not selected the first time for an interview or not shortlisted, it doesn't mean that your CV is not good or that you have not been good. It means often that we have identified someone with a profile who's maybe more in line. Mm-hmm. But for sure, when you come for the interview, please prepare.
Then it's been asked a lot as well that if you're not an ESA member state citizen, then how can you get related with the ESA activities? Is there any opportunity?
So it's also not so straightforward as an answer, because there are a few ways. So first of all, you may contact, depending which citizenship you have. If there is a space agency in your country, I would definitely also recommend you contact the space agency, because they may support you, they may help you, they may guide you, they may tell you where to go. Then, of course, there is space industry in Europe where you can join. There are companies working with ESA, which we call contracting companies. And there also, on our ESA site, there is a page called Business with ESA or something like that. And there I'm sure you can find also some hints to help you. If you are studying the co-funded research, which I was talking about before, is also a good way now, because as ESA has a contract with the university and not with you directly, there is not this constraint of the nationality that we have at ESA. So that can be another way also. So what did I mention? The co-funded research, the space agency, the contracting companies, industry, and more or less that's all what I can relate to.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yes, I would encourage. There will be.
Sorry, I will make a statement here which may sound stupid, but I can tell you it's not irrelevant. To be a national means that you have a valid passport from a country. Mm-hmm. So if you only have a residence certificate, it doesn't mean that you are a citizen of Estonia.
Yes, thanks for that. Yes. And I myself also work together with trainees from Brazil and China in ESA, so it is quite common, actually, I would say. And they came through their national space agencies, so that's right.
Yeah, also in my team, when I was heading the recruitment team, because before being a talent acquisition specialist, I've been heading the recruitment team for 10 years and HR advisors. And I was also in Esrin before for 13 years. So I have also had in my team people from colleagues of nationalities who are not member states, also because they were contractors.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Maybe there's one question, maybe it's difficult for you to say. Someone asked about bioastronomy, or maybe Stella knows.
Bioastronomy, no, I mean, to be honest with you, I think it's difficult. I mean, bioastronomy, I hear the word, astronomers. So I think if you are studying astronomy, again, look at all what we do, and probably what you are studying or want to do may be interesting also for ESA, and you may also find an area answering this request, but I don't know, I cannot tell you today. Yes, we will have an opportunity specifically in bioastronomy.
Yes, I would encourage everyone to go through the job offers one by one, as Gertrud was recommending, that you just have to read them through, and there are a lot of requirements inside. And
exactly, but also go to the website and you will see that a lot of programs are described, and the directorates and the sites, also to get a flavor of, get a feeling of what is ESA.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Maybe we can take one question from the audience as well in between. There is a question from Jaanus Urb. And you can speak with your microphone if possible.
Yes, hello. My name. I have a question that if I want to apply to Young Graduate program, is there any age limitation also there? If I am studying the mechanics and, for example, I will graduate in the beginning of the next year, is there any age limits because I'm not in 20s anymore?
No, alors, first of all, you apply, because we don't have in our application form, you will see that we don't ask your age. So if you apply, I will not know how old you are. So that's the first point. Okay. The most important is that you are just or recently graduate or about to graduate, or that you have graduated in the last 2 years, let's say. Okay. So as I say, no age limit specifically, formally, but of course, if you have 10 years experience, you are not a profile of a YGT. Okay, imagine that you are now graduating and you have worked for 10 years before. I will see in your CV that you have this professional experience. So I'm not sure, again, I will not know how old you are, but maybe your overall profile will, for me, not be the one of a YGT.
But yes, I have some other experience, but not in this that I have studied. I think.
I would say that my advice to you is apply. I cannot say that you will be shortlisted, but that I cannot say to the 6,000 applicants who will apply. I hope, maybe, but still, as you are about to graduate, okay. You should, this is the main criteria, the fact that you are graduating or about to, or just graduated.
Yes.
And as I said, I repeat, when we receive the applications, we don't know the age of the candidate.
Thank you. Karoli, are there any other from the audience? I had one on the from the registration forms was, are there any, if I will graduate in 2021 January, can I participate in some internship? Then I think we already covered it, that the YGT will be available from February.
Yeah, but it's a good question, this one, because I like that it allows me to repeat and be clearer on what I already said. So when you apply to an internship student, you must be a student, you must be registered at university for the whole period of your internship. Okay, so if you graduate in January and your internship should start in February, it's too late. I mean, you will be graduated before your internship starts. However, you have the right profile for the YGT. Is it clear? Because sometimes, you know, I think what I say is clear, but maybe it's not totally. So please ask me if I have to repeat.
I think it was understandable and very good clarification, yes. And I have to also mention again, December is the deadline for internship application.
For the student 10th of December.
And the YGTs will be open in February.
February, all the months of February. We are already starting behind scene to work at it, and I hope we will also have a nice YGT campaign to also get our youngsters on board.
Great. And there was another question, and if in the chat, that if an internship application this year, what time period will the internship take place? So if the application is now, then when is the actual internship taking place?
Okay. Okay, so first, please also all note that on our website, all this information is given, okay, if you don't remember what I've said. And there is also a frequently asked question part where you can find also this kind of answers, okay? Still, if you apply now, your internship will take place in 21. Let's say as from February. In the application form, we ask you when you want to do it. What is your availability? So from February until the end of 21, you will be able to do your internship. We don't have a specific, you can start in February, you can start in March, April, May, June. This is something that you agree, you give us information in the application form, and then it's agreed with the, let's say, the tutor. The final details is agreed with the tutor. And there is another thing which I want to speak about. Maybe we have the question. It's about the thesis. We say that as intern, you can do your master thesis with us. Okay? I confirm it's possible, but this is something you agree with your tutor once you have been selected. You can write it in your application form that you have the intention that you would be interested in doing your master thesis with ESA. But this is something you have to agree with the tutor, because the tutor will support you, will guide you, will leave you some time to write. So, but it's not something which is, let's say, automatic.
Yes. Thank you. There was some other comments. Someone asked if there have been male YGTs from Estonia. I can confirm there have been, and I'm sure other YGTs can say the same, that there is about equal distribution, male, female YGTs. So it's
yes, it's very interesting, the diversity. Okay, today we have a major female representation, but I can tell you that for the YGT population, our gender balance is quite good actually for the YGT population. Let's say we have less female applications, but we have a good representation once we go for interview. So yes, the balance is quite, it's nearly 50-50. Last selection, something like 47% were female and 53 male.
That's a very good result, yes, in this STEM area.
All nationality, not only Estonian.
Maybe I will read a question from Andres, which was answered, but I think we should maybe re-emphasize. So he says, I'm a 36-year-old aircraft mechanic with a Bachelor of Aircraft Engineering degree and plans to continue staying in a Master in Astrophysics. Is it possible to find a job in the aerospace field? Or I'm already too old for this?
No, I would say you are not too old. You should, however, because you have quite some experience, again, we come back to that, I would more look at the opportunities, at least as far as ESA is concerned. I cannot speak for industry, but or contracting companies working with ESA, but for ESA position, I would advise you to look at our positions for staff members. Some of them are for junior staff members. So I would advise you to look at these ones. So don't block yourself.
Okay.
Then there was a question about postdoctoral positions in environmental sciences. So we also covered it in the presentation that there is this research fellowship program.
Yes, but I want to insist on this one too. It's a very good one. PhD research fellows after doctorate, after let's say postdoc, after PhD, we have a lot of positions. And even at the moment, we have quite a few. I think we still have a few. We all year long, we have some. So put an alert in your system so that you receive a mail when we have positions as research fellows. We have every year something like 20, positions to recruit, something like 12 positions in science, astrophysics, planetary, space science. We have something like 10 to go to more Earth observation linked areas and how do you say, artificial intelligence for Earth observation, big data, all this kind of area. Then, and these ones are often in SRIN. We have a lot also in the technical environment, but more focused to research. We have a lot also in advanced, what we call advanced concept team, where we have biomimetics and artificial intelligence again, and architectures specialists, very strange things. No, but very specific areas. So yes, the ones who are interested in whatever science, environmental science, space science, life support, should look at our everything which is research and science is more for the doctorate, PhD, research fellowship people.
Mm-hmm. There was a question about also the difference between YGT and internship in terms of salaries. This one is paid and the internship.
There is a big difference because so the YGTs and the research fellow receive a salary, okay, and they are assimilated to the staff members. They are they have the rules and regulation. They are following the rules and regulation. They have the holidays. They have the, let's say, coverage, the ESA, let's say, the social security, let's say, system. So they are more like, yeah, they receive the salary every month, okay? Net. The interns, they are not paid. They just receive a reimbursement. What we say is reimbursement of pocket expenses. So it's not a salary. It's really to support you a little bit in your expenses. And in fact, next year, it takes me to again another point where all the research, the students will do the internships from home. We only have except very few in laboratories, but internships from remotely undertaken from home, you will only receive the amount for local student of 300 euros. So it's not, and it's also because it's 3 months to 6, it's part of your studies. You are still, you have to prove us that you are covered by your university, that you have this social security through university or your parents. I mean, it depends also each country, but you are not an ESA staff member.
Yes, Carolina?
Yeah, I can say something about the traineeship as well. I remember, yeah, I mean, the money that the trainees get, it's not super big, to be honest. Yeah, but what I was able to do was that there is this program, at least when I was a trainee, there's this program called Erasmus Plus, or something.
Yes.
And I was able to kind of apply for some extra help from there.
Yeah.
And when I added up the money that I got for the traineeship and from what I got from Erasmus Plus, then it was more or less okay actually, and it was manageable like that, yeah, to pay all the rent and whatever I needed to do the traineeship there. But also
it's very good.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah.
But I also saw another question in the chat, so I thought I might answer that because I had a case like that. There was a question about the length of the traineeship and then like on what does it depend, I saw. And in my case, by the way, my traineeship was supposed to be, the project was supposed to be 6 months, but since I was not able to stay abroad for 6 months because I was studying and I had some problems with that, then I was actually talking with my supervisors there because they had already selected me and they wanted me to go there. So I was able to discuss with them and tell them that I'm not able to do 6 months. And so they said like, yeah, we can make it a little bit shorter. So for example, if 3 months is fine, you can stay 3 months and we will see how far we will get. And actually 3 months was enough because I was able to finish the project with that time and they were super happy. But yeah, it's all a matter of discussing with the people there. So if you see that there's some issues with the length or you have to leave earlier or whatever it is, then you can always ask them and yeah, you can modify.
Yeah, also following on what you are saying. So the traineeship are from 3 to 6 months. Okay. If in the meanwhile you find a job or you have to leave for whatever reason, then okay, you can also interrupt before. That's of course possible. Huh? But one thing is sure is that if you have anything that you want to change, you should always speak, always ask. The only bad answer you may receive is a no. No, this is not possible. Okay, so in your case, indeed, you discussed and a solution was fine. It's very rare that we don't find a solution to help and to accommodate. However, we also have rules and guidelines that we have to follow because otherwise it's too complex. Okay, so when we say the traineeship is not longer than 6 months, it can be 9 months if it's requested from your university, but otherwise it's 6 months maximum.
Thank you. Maybe we'll start wrapping up and shortly coming back to this suggestion about this Erasmus Plus. I also wanted to comment on this. There was a question about a national trainee program that yes, we have it in Estonia, but that also involves co-funding. And we have had several cases. Myself, I've used the Archimedes, Kristjan Jaak funding and other sources, Dora Plus, and some other trainees have done so. So there are possibilities, but I would suggest starting with the internship or the YGT program. But if there are any interest in the national trainee program, then you can always write to us and then we can give you some advice on it. And I wanted to also comment maybe on the general discussion we had about ESA, that I completely agree that the most important thing in ESA is to be proactive, to ask, to make those connections, because as I can also see from my own work today, that when I'm doing projects from industry in Estonia, I have now pictures of these people in my head who I'm talking to, all the people I'm working together with, and it's really, really much nicer to work like that if you know those people already, and makes a life much easier. And the trainees I met, we still visit each other, and it's really is a friendship for life, I would say. And also I would, as Florence was saying, that always ask ESA people are very nice. My experience is that it's very nice to be there and very nice to speak with all of these people because they're very friendly. And no one should be really afraid to do these applications or interviews because they're worried about ESA stuff being maybe, don't know, somehow intimidating. So I think you shouldn't worry about that at all. And that's it. And thank you again very much for all the participants and the speakers and Florence and Jan. And if anyone has any questions, I can put my contacts now at the end. And you can write to us on our email or the Estonian Space Office Facebook page. Is a good place to contact us. And yes, please do not hesitate to ask any questions about space-related traineeships, careers, or anything you would like to find out about in this domain. So thank you again for everyone, and have a great evening, and good luck with the applications. And you still have 7 days for the internship. You can make it.
Thank you very much. It was an excellent moment with you all. And again, very nice to be in Estonia, even if virtually.
Yes, hopefully in a couple of years we can make it as a live event again.
Yep. So I would wish good luck to anyone applying.
Same here. Good luck.
All right. Have a good day.
Goodbye.
Bye.
May I ask something? If any of the former trainees are still there?
Maybe there is still someone else you can ask. If
I'm still here, yeah.
I'm still as well.
Like it was mentioned to be like during the study time. So what was like the workload of the internship?
Okay, maybe well, I can also answer this one.
Yeah.
Because in the COVID time, I mean, I can tell you that, of course, we are all working. I mean, our first preoccupation is that people stay healthy overall in the organization. So we are all working from home, exceptionally going to on-site. Me, for example, I've not been to ESTEC for since March now, but we all work, and the trainees are really guided and tutored by their manager and tutor virtually. So we prefer to open the opportunities remotely, because we know that if you are a student and you would have to come to Holland and then you have to stay at home stuck with no family, and maybe your friends are far away and you cannot really make friends because you cannot socialize also because you are at home and you have to stay at home more or less. So this is why we want to open the 2021 opportunities remotely, but I can tell you that the work is not less because we are, let's say, working from home. So maybe Carolina or Stella, you want to also, or Caroli, you want, or Ere, I don't know, want to say something on that, but that's my personal and I think professional view also.
Yeah, that was really good, because I don't know about the current situation, you know, regarding COVID. I had no idea how you arrange it, but what I remember, and if you want to know like more or less the workload of the project, I think your supervisors, they usually take into account that you might be working on your thesis, for example. So they actually leave you time to also do other things. They are not expecting you to do like a full-time job. When you're a trainee, it's like you're learning, you're doing a project there, you're investigating, but it doesn't mean full-time work. They leave you some time. So because I know that many trainees, and when I was a trainee, then I think most of them were connecting their traineeships to their theses, and they had some time to also work on the thesis and the university things. So as a YGT, it's more like a full-time job, but the traineeship is slightly different, in my opinion. At least what in my experience.
Yes, I have similar experience. I was doing my PhD and I could successfully do it, but it also depends on the supervisor and how much work they've got to give you, and this is something you have to talk in the beginning, surely, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do we still have a question?
Don't think so.
No, I think it's over now. So again, all my thanks to you for organizing, Ere, and really all my thanks to Stella, Jan, Caroli, Carolina, everybody. Maëlys, Marie.
There will be active round now with more applications than normally.
Good. Yeah. That's what we want. We want Estonians.
Yes, we only have a couple at the moment, I guess, so we need to send some more.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Have a nice evening. See you.
You too. Bye.
Bye.